Why, hello, folks. It is Nick from 2-Star Players here. And this month I managed to hit Infinite Rank again in Marvel Snap. And I wanted to share a bit about my thoughts of how I am climbing and how you can become better at climbing as well. And the way I'm doing it is by using poker strategies as a long-term poker player, which I was a couple of years ago before I started playing Snap. And I quickly identified that a lot of traditional poker strategy or poker theory is very applicable to Marvel Snap. Now, the very first lesson that I want to talk about, which is probably the single most important thing that is currently preventing you from being able to climb the ranks to infinite, is that you might be what is referred to in poker terms as a calling station. A calling station is something every poker pro just loves to see sitting down at the table. If you see a calling station at the table, you just know that okay, I'm gonna make money tonight. You define a calling station as a player who simply does not fold if they have any sort of poker hand. They will carry on with the entire game down to a showdown. If you make a bet, they will call. If they make a bet and you raise them, they will call. If you go all in, they will call. They will just call everything everyone is doing the entire game, win or lose. Now, there are two reasons why people act this way. One of these reasons is benevolent and the other one is not. The first one, which sort of is a bit problematic and probably why you are a calling station as well, is because the showdown is the most fun part of the game, isn't it? And the thing about calling stations is that these are people who really, really enjoy playing poker. They think it's super fun to play poker. And the game itself is their fun. Winning money is not why they play poker. They just play poker because they think poker is fun. And they live for the showdown. They want to do the bets back and forth. And then they want that big moment at the end where everyone just puts their cards on the table and sees who wins and who loses. That is why they play poker, for that moment. And you're probably like that in Marvel Snap as well, right? Forfeiting kind of sucks. It's boring. You want to take your chances. You want to do that turn 6, and you want to do the big reveal and see your turn 6 play versus their turn 6 play, and may the best man win. And I get that. I get that because that's fun. That's the fun part of the game. And mind you, once I've hit infinite, that's how I play Marvel Snap. Once I'm no longer concerned about ranks, I'm no longer concerned about climbing, then I start playing that way. I start going to showdowns way more often, not really caring if I rank up or rank down, because that's just more fun. It's a more enjoyable way of playing Marvel Snap. But it is not the way to climb. And that's sort of the counterintuitive thing here, or sort of the thing that feels wrong, that the way to climb the ranks is not how you have fun with Marvel Snap. It is not the fun way of playing the game, and that's just something you kind of sort of have to accept. Or if you want to reach infinite, you're going to have to play in a slightly different way from how you're used to playing. And we'll get to that. Now, the second reason why people are calling stations, the less benevolent reason, is because they only focus on their own hand. They aren't thinking about what their opponents have. They're not thinking about what their opponents might have. They're only looking at what they're setting up, what they can build, what sort of poker hand they can build with the cards they have in their hand, and whether or not that's a good or bad poker hand. And it's something like a flush is a good poker hand in a vacuum. But if your opponent has a full house, then your flush is a bad poker hand. And this doesn't go through the head of the calling station. They don't sort of ask themselves if they're beat or not. They just think that they have a good hand and they want to see how good it is. And this is sort of the big one where you kind of have to take your game to the next level, and you have to sort of learn to identify opponents' decks to see what it is they're playing. I mean, you can see if they're playing Thanos Lockjaw or something. That's obvious pretty early. But there are other decks that are a bit harder to quickly identify what it is. And then play patterns, right? If you have a Mr. Negative deck and they drop the Mr. Negative on curve and then they snap immediately after, then you have to ask yourself, is this a bluff snap or is this just someone who knows that they're gonna win. And then you have to assess that compared to what you have in your hand. And if you don't like your odds, then you pull out. We're not talking about like maybe winning 8 cubes. No, you're not gonna win 8 cubes. Your only options at this point are losing 1 cube or losing 8 cubes. That's it. The showdown is fun, but you are gonna lose those 8 cubes. If you look at actual poker pros and how they play the game, you will notice that, my god, they fold a lot. They look at their hand, they fold. Their opponent makes a bet, they fold. They make a bet, their opponent raises them, they fold. Fold, 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 all day long until you hit that one perfect moment to go all in and just make a ton of money all in one go, right? You pick up small pots here and there, sure, but you know, you aim for the ones that count. That is how you play poker successfully. And that is how you play Marvel Snap successfully. So, what you want to do to not be a calling station is to concede and forfeit and throw games left and right. So many. Retreat, retreat, retreat in game after game after game. You can pick up, you know, some games here, some games there. Here's a cube, there's a cube. But you don't want to get in those situations where you're gambling for 8 cubes when you don't know if you're in a good spot or not. So, if you are a calling station, which you might be, here's my advice. Retreat 10 times more often than you're doing. Abandon the idea of going to showdowns often. You're not supposed to go to a showdown often. You're not supposed to go to turn 6 and seeing what happens on turn 6 often. You're supposed to do that pretty rarely, once in a while, occasionally, but like not at all, like all the time. And it's not the fun way of playing Snap, but climbing the ranks means you have to condition yourself to playing in a way that's not fun. You have to condition yourself to playing in a way that is efficient. And that's just meant for climbing. And that means you have to forfeit games all the time. And not go to showdown. And if your opponent snaps and you don't think they're bluffing and you feel so about your hand, don't stay in it. Don't stay in it. Just go. Just leave. It's not fun. It's more fun to stay in it, but just don't do it. But that's half of the equation, right? Because the reality is that there are a lot of calling stations out there. There's tons of calling stations out there. So not only should you be focusing on not being a calling station, you should also be focusing on how to take advantage of the fact that everyone else is a calling station. And this is really important. In poker, there have, over time developed a couple of theories and rules for how you're supposed to play if there is a calling station at the table. Rule number 1 for playing against a calling station: never ever bluff them. Never ever bluff them because it doesn't work, they won't fold. A bluff is typically when you bet big even though you don't have anything because you want your opponent to fold. That does not work against calling stations. They're just going to call you because they're not thinking about what you have and they're not thinking about their play. They're only looking at their own cards. So in Snap, that's like, don't bluff Snap. Don't ever bluff Snap against someone who you feel is a calling station. They're not going to retreat. So the idea when you play against a calling station is that you want a situation where you feel that you are the favorite to win. And finally, the biggest rule when you face a calling station is that when you do feel that you are the favorite to win, get the money in. Make it a big pot. Make it as big of a pot as you can. And extract as much money as you can from them. So in Snap, that's like you snap, right? As soon as you feel that you're gonna win, then you snap. Now here's a very important thing. There is accepted knowledge out in the Snap community, like Snap theory or whatever, saying that you should never snap on turn 6. Because you only get 1 cube instead of 2, because your opponent is just gonna retreat if you snap on 6 and they don't like their odds and all of that jazz. This is completely true if you play against a competent player, if you play against a high-level player. Now we're talking not just the ladder, we're talking about people who are like way, way up. But on the ladder, this is not like common knowledge yet. This is a new game. This is still a new game, and there are still so many bad Snap players out there. And there are so many calling stations. I see them all the time on the ladder. And it does not matter if you are on turn 6. If you are facing a calling station, you just snap. Because they are not going to retreat. They're just not going to do it. A good player would, but we are not there yet. Maybe a couple of months from now, maybe years from now, where people are that experienced with the game. But for now, they're not. And people are still just in that mindset of wanting to have fun with Snap. And they want the big showdown. And you Snap, and they don't care. They don't care about the cubes. They just want that cool end of the game thing to happen. They don't mind losing 4 cubes or even 8 cubes. Because they play for the love of the game. And as terrible as it sounds, if you want to climb the ranks, then you have to take advantage of the people who play for the love of the game, and you have to extract those cubes from them by taking the joy away from them. So, you have to not play for the love of the game. You have to play for cubes. That's the that's the gist of it. Don't be a calling station. Retreat if you don't like your odds. Retreat 10 times as often as you are currently retreating. Retreat maybe 20 times as much as you are currently retreating. You are staying in way too many games. If you come to this video and you're like, oh, I don't know how to climb, I feel like I'm stuck. The reality of it is that you are staying in too many games where you should have gotten out of Dodge a long time ago. Because you're playing to have fun and you need to stop playing to have fun and you need to start playing to win. And by winning, that means losing. That means retreating. You retreat all the time until you find your spots to win big. That's number 1. Number 2, if you face someone who you identify as being a calling station, never ever bluff snap them. It does not work. Do not bluff snap them. And finally, number 3, if you are facing someone who you believe is a calling station and you feel like you are the odds-on favorite to win, then you snap. It does not matter which turn you're on. It does not matter if you're on turn 3. It does not matter if you're on turn 6. Just snap and get those cubes because they are not going to retreat. They just are not going to do it. So, if you follow these rules, you are going to see that you are going to start climbing easier than before. I'm going to put out more videos talking about more like poker theory and how it applies to Marvel Snap. But this, I feel like, was needed as like the first big lesson and probably the most important one. And I'm going to end the video by showing you sort of like some highlights from some of the last games that I played to get to Infinite. So thanks for listening. Enjoy the clips and I'll see you guys later for something completely different. Okay. So, we are 2 days into a new season. I'm already up to in rank 99. Now, I did hit Infinite last month, and I was talking about like just using poker strategies to climb. And at that point, I was like at collection level 450 and something, and people were like, "Oh, that doesn't mean anything. That means nothing, the climb, because you're not facing any real decks yet. So whatever knowledge you think you have is just irrelevant, whatever." Then I come back when you have a collection level above 600 and you're facing real players, and then we'll see if you can climb to Infinite. So yeah, let's see if I can do that, shall we? Let's dive in. Ooh, destroy versus destroy. I just need to find some of my activators. And death. Great. Well, there's death. So I'll do wave into Nimrod, hope I find an activator. You know, like destroyer or something. I could obviously like just play death next turn. Let's see if I draw destroyer or something. No. Maybe I should play death since I don't... This might be my only opportunity to play death. I don't see myself playing destroyer this game even if I draw it. Bucky Barnes. No, I think I'll just play Nimrod here and hope I draw some sort of destroy activator. Shang-Chi, not good. Okay, opponent snapped. Not the end of the world. I'll take this lane if I destroy the Nimrod. So if I play Wolverine Deathlock here, then worst case scenario is Wolverine jumps over here. There's a 2 and 3. He's gonna jump here or here. Both of those have a pretty good odds of giving me the win. And I can also do this to give myself a tie here in this lane as a defensive mechanism. We'll see. I don't think I should concede here. I think I have a pretty good shot at winning this one. So long as Wolverine doesn't jump here. Which means he is gonna jump here, right? Yes, of course. If Wolverine had jumped here or here, I would win. So, of course he doesn't. Well, I was the odds-on favorite to win that one. So, you know, it's correct. It is correct to proceed if you have a 2 out of 3 chance of winning. I didn't want to, like, counter snap. I need better odds than that, but definitely, you know, going on with the game. All right. Misty Knight. Ooh, Patriot deck. Well, then I don't like that he got a monster. Now this is cool. Sinister London. I have Bucky Barnes. I got some activators. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go crazy. Let's do the electro play. I'm not sure it's good. So I need to be lucky and hit both of them next turn with my Deathlock. We'll see. Ooh. Or I can just hit Destroyer, right? Yeah, I'll just play Destroyer. It's gonna wipe both of them. Right, that's the play. But I want to flood this one, so maybe I should put the Destroyer here. Yeah. Let's do it. Nope. Juicy, juicy, juicy. Alright, so he's gonna get to see what I do on this turn. What I'm gonna do is wave. Daredevil means he's probably playing Professor X. And he's gonna reveal first, so he's probably gonna lock down this location. I can just play Death. Right? I can just play Death. Into wave. Yeah. So he's gonna have to lock it down with Professor X to prevent me... Oh, magic. Oh no. No, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world at all. That's actually pretty good for me. So if I play Nova, It's gotta be Nimrod, right? And Nova. And then next turn, we can shoot it over here. Some extra juice. I think that's the play. I think that's the play. Okay. Okay, he locks down this one. I don't mind that. I'm winning that one. I can shoot a Nimrod over here. And with the help of Killmonger, I can make the Nimrod stronger as well. Or maybe I don't want to. Maybe I want to keep the Nimrod here. And 9 mana. 9, sorry, not mana. What's this mana you speak of? So what if I do like armor, Deathlock, Killmonger? What if that's the play? Seems like a winning play. Let's snap. Now there are people out there who think that you shouldn't snap on turn 6 or turn 7. But you should. And the reason why is because so many people out there are pure calling stations. And it doesn't matter. They're just gonna... They want to see the game to completion, even though they shouldn't see the game to completion. They just can't help themselves. So they call, even when they're behind, because, you know, just enjoy the game for what it is, and then you lose. So if you're facing good opponents, then you shouldn't snap on 6. And by good opponents, I mean people who understand poker strategy. But since that's not going to be the case most of the time, even when someone is losing, even when they're behind, they are not going to forfeit the game. They're going to call more often than not, which is why snapping on 6 is actually the correct play. Snapping on 6 is not the correct play if you're facing a competent opponent. But I'm at rank 99. See, that guy should have just forfeited when I snapped. He should have just realized that, like, whatever play he's gonna make isn't gonna work. He just had to know. Just had to know who was going to win, right? Couldn't leave well enough alone. Maybe not play the Wolverine here. Maybe my opponent's gonna try to take this and I can just get rid of my own Electro for free. That would be nice. I'm not gonna fill out the raft. It's a Mr. Negative deck. That's spooky. That's real spooky. I've got like a really weak hand here. It's a really weak hand. Lockjaw? Oh my god. This can't be good for me. So let's assume we've lost this lane, shall we? Now, since my opponent isn't snapping, it's not the end of the world. Best bet might actually be playing Destroyer and hope Wolverine jumps into the lane, but no. No, I can't do that. He has this lane. I have to take both of these lanes. Can he do that? Probably. I don't think I can defend both of these lanes. So I'm gonna forfeit here. I'm gonna retreat. Because I'd rather lose 1 cube than 2. There's no way I'm winning this. So this is where people would like, oh, but it's only 2 cubes. Maybe I should just see it through. No, you should not. If you know you've lost, then just fold. Look at that. Boom. 100. That is 2 days into a new season. How about it? Bam. So, there we go, people. Infinite. Again. And, maybe now we should do those videos about poker strategies. Maybe now people will listen to me. We'll see.